You've just been elected President of the United States, the most powerful job on earth. People cheer, bands play, and newspapers call you a leader for a new era. You stand there smiling, waving, pretending you're not terrified. For about 6 glorious minutes, you believe the hype. Then reality taps you on the shoulder and whispers, "Hope you like stress," because this isn't a victory lap. It's the moment your life stops being yours. Your first real morning as president starts before sunrise, not because you're disciplined, but because the country is already in trouble somewhere. Your breakfast is cold eggs, burnt toast, and coffee strong enough to wake the dead. You unfold the newspaper and it immediately starts yelling at you. War rumors, factory strikes, political scandals, and half the nation convinced you're about to ruin everything. You stare at the headlines, rub your eyes, and think, maybe today will be quiet. It won't be. It never is. You quickly discover that being president in the 90s means drowning in paper. There's no email, no notifications, no mark as unread, just stacks of letters piled on your desk, your chairs, and somehow even the floor. Farmers beg for relief. Factory workers demand safer conditions. Business tycoons politely threaten the economy, and random citizens write to you like you're their personal therapist. Every letter starts with "Dear Mr. President," and ends with a problem you're apparently supposed to fix by Tuesday. And then there's your staff. They speak in calm voices while delivering absolute disasters. "Mr. President, there may be a financial panic." "Sir, Congress is divided again." "There's unrest in 3 states." They say these things while you're still holding your coffee, like this is completely normal. You nod, take notes, and pretend you know exactly what you're doing. Inside, you're realizing the truth. This job isn't about power. It's about managing nonstop emergencies while looking confident enough that nobody notices you're improvising. You learn very quickly that peace is more of a suggestion than a reality. One moment you're dealing with trade disputes, the next moment someone across the ocean fires a shot, and suddenly everyone looks at you. Spain, Germany, Europe as a whole. It's like a neighborhood that keeps catching fire, and somehow you're the one holding the hose. You try saying the word neutral, and half the country calls you weak while the other half asks why you're even talking to foreigners in the first place. Eventually, you have to choose. And the moment you do, everything explodes politically. Supporters wave flags and praise your courage. Critics swear you've doomed the nation. Newspapers argue with each other. Cartoonists turn you into a joke, and citizens debate your intelligence over dinner. You realize war isn't just fought with soldiers. It's fought in headlines, speeches, and angry conversations you'll never hear but somehow still feel. And through it all, you're expected to look calm, decisive, and heroic, while quietly wondering how things escalated this fast. Your days blur into a nonstop parade of people you're supposed to care deeply about. Senators, generals, businessmen, diplomats, everyone wants a moment of your time and a firm handshake to prove they matter. You shake so many hands, your arm starts to feel less like a limb and more like a national resource. You nod, smile, repeat the same polite phrases, and secretly wonder if anyone would notice if you just stopped moving altogether. In between handshakes, you're signing laws you barely slept enough to fully read. Important ones, dangerous ones, the kind that shaped the country for decades. There are speeches to give in rooms packed with people waiting for you to say the wrong thing. There are parades you didn't ask for, and ceremonies that somehow last forever. By the end of the day, you realize this job isn't about grand moments. It's about endurance. If you can keep smiling, keep shaking hands, and keep standing upright, you're considered successful. You'd think living in the White House would feel elegant, maybe even calming. It doesn't. It's loud, crowded, and constantly buzzing with footsteps and whispered arguments. The air smells like paper, ink, and permanent stress. People walk into your office without knocking, because apparently when you're president, privacy is considered optional. Every room feels like a waiting room, and everyone is waiting for you. You'll be deep in thought about foreign policy or economic collapse when someone interrupts with a sentence that makes no sense. "Sir, there's a cow outside," or a protest, or a reporter refusing to leave. And just like that, it's your problem. You learn quickly that the White House isn't a sanctuary. It's a command center where chaos drops by unannounced. And no matter how strange the interruption is, you're expected to handle it calmly, like this is exactly how you plan to spend your afternoon. Every paper you sign, speech you give, and casual remark suddenly has the weight of the nation behind it. One wrong move and it's in the history books forever, etched into textbooks, analyzed by scholars, and probably quoted by someone you'll never meet. You hesitate too long? Weak leader? You act too fast? Reckless tyrant? You compromise? Spineless? You refuse? Dictator? Somehow, no choice is ever the right one. You start to realize the job isn't really about leading the country. It's about surviving a constant storm of criticism while convincing everyone and yourself that you know what you're doing. Every decision is scrutinized, debated, and turned into a moral lesson or a political scandal. Even your small private thoughts could be twisted into headlines someday, and your oops moments might haunt future generations. Basically, the presidency is like juggling flaming swords while everyone is yelling at you for dropping one. There are no real weekends, no quiet vacations, and no moments where the world isn't watching. Even when you try to relax, the presidency sneaks up on you like a bad surprise party. If you cough, it's news. If you look tired, people panic. If you smile too much, they think you're hiding something. Your off hours are just another shift where you pretend life isn't slowly strangling you. You lie in bed at night, exhausted, wondering if the country will still like you tomorrow. Probably not. Someone somewhere is already plotting to disagree with every move you've made today. And you realize that being president isn't about rest. It's about constant endurance, staying upright, alert, and convincing. Every second is under scrutiny, and even a moment of human weakness could become a national scandal. There is no escape. There is no pause. There is only tomorrow. Eventually, the term ends. You pack up your papers, give one last speech, and walk out of the White House looking like a completely different person than the one who walked in. Your hair is gray, your face permanently tired, and your smile doesn't quite reach your eyes anymore. Some people remember you as a hero. Others blame you for everything that ever went wrong while you were in office. Most people can't agree on which one you were. Years pass, and your name becomes a debate instead of a person. Historians argue about your decisions like you weren't human at all, just a collection of policies and mistakes. Meanwhile, the next president sits at your old desk, sighs deeply, and mutters something about the mess you left behind. And just like that, your era ends. Not with applause, but with arguments that will last far longer than you ever imagined.